Okay, so CEOs worldwide, they're kind of grappling with this big problem, right? Data is absolutely everywhere. I mean, organizations are just swimming in it. But actually, turning that flood of data into real, measurable economic benefit, that seems incredibly hard. Companies have poured billions into infrastructure, data lakes, you name it. And still, we see research showing what a third of global executives, they feel their company's data has this massive unrealized potential. Just sitting there, that's the gap we're really going to dive into today. This deep dive is all about how generative AI, Gen AI, is fundamentally changing the game for extracting value. We're talking about moving way beyond just, selling raw data files or running basic reports on last quarter. The shift is towards generating intelligence at scale.
Exactly. And this isn't just some theoretical thing. The stakes are really high. When we talk about data monetization, what we mean is generating actual quantifiable economic benefit. That could be selling access to third parties, sure, but also using insights internally to, say, radically optimize how you work, or even building entirely new products and services off the back of that data. And get this, our sources show top performing companies, they attribute around 11% of their entire revenue to these kinds of deliberate data monetization efforts.
11%. Wow, that's not small change. That's fundamental to the business. But hold on. If the top players are getting 11%, that means most companies are leaving serious money on the table, right? So where's the disconnect? What are they missing?
Well, often they're stopping too early in the value chain. The really key difference to get your head around now with Gen AI is this. It's not just about monetizing the raw data or even the analytics that tell you what happened. It's about creating intelligence. Intelligence that can reason, that can predict, and ultimately that can make autonomous decisions. And crucially, embedding that intelligence right into the day-to-day business workflows.
Okay, intelligence that can reason and act. Let's definitely unpack that. That sounds like a major shift in thinking.
It is. And to really understand it, it helps to think about that old DIKW pyramid. Data, information, knowledge, wisdom. Historically, data businesses made money mostly down at the data and information levels. Gen AI basically turbocharges the journey up that pyramid, straight towards the top. It turns raw data not just into knowledge, like a static report, but into genuine, dynamic intelligence. Intelligence that can actually be the foundation for totally new, high-margin businesses. And we're seeing two huge interconnected shifts really driving this.
Right. Shift number one sounds absolutely critical because it finally tackles maybe the biggest headache of the digital age.
Yeah.
Unlocking unstructured data. We always hear that stat, over 90% of data in organizations is unstructured. That's what every customer email, every support ticket, documents, images, voice recordings, all that rich context that traditional databases just couldn't really touch, right?
Precisely. Traditional methods really struggled there. Gen AI doesn't just make this mountain of unstructured stuff usable, it makes it connectable. It can quickly clean it, organize it, analyze it, turning all these isolated, messy signals into something strategic, into decision-ready intelligence.
That sounds powerful. But how does it actually make that connection? You mentioned something about a semantic layer and knowledge graphs. Before we move on, can you break that down a bit? What does that tech actually do?
Yeah, sure. Think of it like the ultimate map maker for your data. Traditional databases keep data in separate boxes, right? Silos. A knowledge graph, which is built on this semantic layer, creates a network. It maps out the relationships between all the different pieces of data. It doesn't matter if it's structured, like in a database, or unstructured, like text. It basically translates everything into a common language of meaning that both people and AI can understand and reason with. It allows the AI to grasp that, okay, this person talking about problem X in this phone call transcript is the same person who bought product Y 3 months ago, according to the structured sales data.
Ah, okay. So that connectivity, that's the real game changer. We saw a great example of this in the research, didn't we? Really practical, like a call center scenario.
Exactly. Think about a typical call center. In the past, the agent might have the customer's basic transaction history up, maybe some notes, but they couldn't possibly process in real time the nuances of the customer's complaint from the call transcript, their emotional tone, and link it instantly to specific product details or inventory levels. Now, Gen AI can do that. It instantly links that unstructured voice data to all the relevant structured data purchase history, product SKUs, even their location.
And because the system gets the whole picture all at once, it doesn't just log the call, it enables action. Like the agent can immediately send a super targeted digital coupon to the customer's phone, redeemable at their nearest store that actually has the right product in stock, solving the problem right then and there based on this rich, multi-layered intelligence. That speed, that context, that's shift one.
And shift number 2 really builds right on top of that foundation. It focuses on taking all that newly accessible data, structured and unstructured, and turning it into decision-ready intelligence.
And this is driven by what users actually need, isn't it?
Hmm.
Because, let's face it, static reports can be kind of, well, boring. And often not that helpful.
They often are, because generic data products aren't that useful without insights tailored to a specific situation. Think about, say, an HR manager trying to figure out the salary for a new hire. They use a compensation benchmarking tool. The old version might just give a single flat average salary for, I don't know, pediatricians in the Midwest. Okay, that's data. Maybe it's information. But it's not really actionable intelligence, is it? You'd then have to spend ages manually adjusting that number based on specifics.
Probably adding guesswork, wasting time.
Exactly. Now, a Gen AI-powered tool can do much better. It delivers the intelligence needed to recommend an actual specific salary. Dynamically adjusted for that candidate's precise experience level, the specific role details, is it clinical management? The exact location may be a Chicago hospital system, not just Midwest. And even factors like current high inflation rates in that specific sector or city. That level of granular, context-aware, decision-ready intelligence is what data products need to deliver now to be valuable.
Okay, so Gen AI is solving these internal challenges, making data usable, creating that nuanced intelligence. But if intelligence is the new goal, what does that mean for those traditional businesses whose whole model was just selling raw data? Sounds like they might be in a tough spot. You mentioned a squeeze on that data brokerage model.
Oh, absolutely. The market for just reselling raw data is definitely feeling the pressure from a couple of directions, really. First, you've got increasing regulatory heat, especially around personal and sensitive data, GDPR, CCPA, all that. It's making access tighter and compliance much more expensive globally.
And the second pressure point is, well, it's innovation itself, isn't it? Specifically, synthetic data getting much better.
Exactly. Synthetic customer data, artificially generated data that mimics real data, can often provide very similar performance for training models or doing analytics. But it comes at a much lower cost and, crucially, with far less regulatory headache and risk. And the speed of this shift is just incredible. Sources are predicting that by 2026, something like 3/4 of businesses will be using Gen AI to create synthetic customer data. That's up from less than 5% just back in 2023. So if you can generate a good enough data set synthetically, why would you pay a premium to a broker for the real thing with all the associated risks?
So the takeaway is pretty stark, moving up that value chain from just raw data to actual intelligence.
Yeah.
It's not really optional anymore, is it? It sounds like it's essential for survival. The source material made a really interesting distinction here between insight and intelligence. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's a useful way to think about it. Insights generally sit at that knowledge layer of the pyramid. They help organize data, explain things, help clients understand why something happened. It's about interpretation. But intelligence goes a step further. It moves closer to that wisdom layer. It uses that knowledge not just to explain, but to actively recommend a next step or predict an outcome. And increasingly, as we'll see, to actually act autonomously. That shift from interpretation to prediction and action, that's where Gen AI really delivers the biggest monetizable impact.
That's fascinating. So the data provider of the future, they look less like someone selling spreadsheets and more like a real-time personalized consultant.
In many ways, yeah, that's a good analogy. And Gen AI is helping companies build these intelligent data products in, broadly speaking, 2 main revenue-generating ways. First, through highly personalized content generation. The AI basically acts like an always-on custom analyst for each user. There was a great case study on this involving a big automotive manufacturer. They used an AI-powered stack to build what they called a digitized installed base. Essentially, a super detailed digital twin of every part they'd ever sold, who bought it, how it's likely being used, its maintenance schedule. Based on that incredibly rich foundation, Gen AI could then generate truly personalized recommendations for products and services to the owners. We're not talking generic buy new tires email. This is highly specific outreach about parts or services that perfectly match that specific vehicle's age, mileage, and likely needs.
And that level of pinpoint personalization must really drive sales, right?
It did, significantly. The results were pretty impressive. A 15 to 25% jump in qualified leads, and a 25 to 30% uplift in actual sales for parts and services. They effectively turned their operational and technical data into a personalized sales intelligence engine.
That's a serious return. Okay, so that's personalized content. What's the second major monetization track? You mentioned agentic AI.
Right, agentic AI. This is about leveraging real-time decision-making by embedding Gen AI directly into live business workflows.
So are we talking about AI that doesn't just suggest what to do, but actually does it? takes the action.
That's the core idea behind agentic AI, yes. Autonomous action, or at least semi-autonomous action. Organizations are designing data systems now that don't just support decisions, they execute aspects of them right in the moment. Take a financial services firm working on collections, for instance. Optimizing that process. They built a Gen AI tool that instantly analyzes a debtor's entire history, recent interactions, maybe even current market conditions, their risk profile. And based on all that, it identifies the right customers to contact, when the best time to reach out is, and which channel, maybe a text, works better than a call for this person at this time, all instantaneously. This kind of system dramatically increases the chances of getting that promise to pay. It shifts the whole data system from just decision support, here's a report, to automated real-time action and genuine process optimization.
When we look at who's really nailing this shift to intelligence, probably the prime example has to be Walmart, right? With their Scintilla platform, they're basically commercializing that incredibly vast proprietary shopper behavior data they have.
Walmart is a fantastic case study. They're leveraging their unique asset, that incredible scale and granularity of shopper data, to sell intelligence, not just data tables. And the financial results are pretty staggering. I think the platform saw something like 80% quarter-over-quarter revenue growth in its first year alone, and that momentum's kept going. By late 2024, they were reporting 173% year-on-year growth in customers with, get this, a 100% renewal rate among those customers. And they just launched something called Scintilla Insights Activation, which offers automated, real-time ad targeting recommendations. It's a huge retailer successfully turning its core operational data advantage into a completely new, high-growth global business line. It's business building.
Wow, 100% renewal rate. That speaks volumes about the value they're delivering. Okay, so that kind of scale, that growth, that's the dream scenario. For our listener who's thinking, okay, I want to build my own version of Scintilla, how do they get there? Moving from just optimizing internally, maybe doing some opportunistic stuff, all the way to that full marketplace monetization. The sources laid out a pretty clear blueprint, didn't they? 6 foundational elements you have to get right. Let's walk through that implementation blueprint.
Absolutely. Mastering these 6 really defines the organizational maturity you need to turn data science promises into scalable, actual revenue.
Okay, let's tick them off. Number 1, strategy and product. What's the key takeaway here?
The absolute key is that your strategy must be grounded in some kind of proprietary advantage, like Walmart's unique scale. What's yours? And critically, data monetization has to be treated as a core business building activity. It needs executive sponsorship, clear goals tied to the main business. It can't just be a side project run by the tech team. If it is, it's likely doomed.
Makes sense. Okay, number 2, commercialization. We talked about intelligence being personalized, dynamic. How on earth do you price that?
Yeah, the old model of flat rate subscriptions just doesn't work well for this kind of tailored, ongoing intelligence. Companies really need to embrace more flexible pricing. Think usage-based fees, outcome-based contracts where you get paid for the value delivered, or maybe tiered access based on data depth or features. And crucially, the relationship doesn't end when the contract is signed. Post-sale customer success becomes vital. You need teams dedicated to helping clients find and unlock new, high-value ways to use the intelligence. That's what drives renewals and expands those usage contracts.
Element 3, technology and data. This sounds like it involves some serious heavy lifting on the infrastructure side.
It definitely does. You need a really robust cloud-native tech stack, one that can handle both your structured data and all that messy unstructured data seamlessly. We mentioned Bloomberg GPT earlier, that massive 50 billion parameter language model. They train specifically on 40 years of financial data. That's a prime example of building that kind of deep domain-specific intelligence layer. It's a huge asset. And woven through all of this, you absolutely need rigorous data governance and really strong, responsible AI guardrails. Without that, the whole thing is built on shaky ground, exposed to huge compliance and reputational risks.
Right. Moving to element 4, people. The talent needed to pull this off. It's famously hard to find, isn't it?
It really is. It's a tough mix you need. You need the deep technical skills, AI engineers, data scientists, but you also need strong commercial sense product managers who understand the market, sales teams who can sell value, not just features. And that product ownership piece is key. Organizations have to invest seriously in upskilling their current teams and go out and attract top external talent. It's competitive. Just to give a sense of scale, one big financial institution we looked at actually built a dedicated data chapter. Over 700 data professionals focused solely on this area internally. It's like an arms race for this talent.
700 people.
Yeah.
Okay, element 5, operations and management. Beyond the tech and the people, how do you actually manage delivering this real-time intelligence day to day?
Yeah, scaling this up requires building out specific operational muscles. Your legal teams, your compliance folks, finance, they all need processes tailored to the speed and nature of real-time intelligence delivery. It's different from traditional product support, but probably the single biggest, trickiest governance risk here is around intellectual property, ownership. Think about it. If your client feeds their proprietary data into your Gen AI model to get a specific output, who owns that resulting output? Is it yours? Is it the client's? Is it somehow shared? Companies absolutely must design clear IP and data ownership frameworks right alongside their product strategy from day one. If you don't, you're walking into potential legal nightmares later on.
That's a really critical point. Okay, and finally, number 6, capital. We know scaling compute power isn't cheap.
No, it's not. And capital deployment needs to be smart and disciplined here. Compute costs can balloon really quickly, especially when you're processing and cleaning huge amounts of that unstructured data. And there's another key factor people sometimes forget. AI models aren't static. They degrade over time, sometimes called model drift. They need constant retraining, tuning, updating. That's an ongoing significant capital expense, not a one-off cost. So your funding model has to account for both the initial build, the technical scaling, and this continuous maintenance, all while protecting your profit margins. You need to ensure the cost of running engine doesn't completely eat the revenue it generates.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Strategy, tech, people, operations, capital. What's the big picture takeaway here for you, the listener? It seems really clear. Just owning the most data. That's not the ultimate competitive advantage anymore. Data by itself is becoming a commodity. Intelligence, actionable, predictive, automated intelligence, that's the new currency. And companies still stuck just selling raw data or maybe building static dashboards. They're facing a serious risk of being left behind by these newer AI native players who are all about action and outcomes.
That's exactly right. And looking ahead, the potential here goes even beyond just making smarter decisions faster. We're really moving rapidly from data systems that merely offer decision support towards systems that are becoming fully autonomous actors. Agentic AI is pushing data systems towards self-orchestration, continuous learning, and adaptation. You can start to imagine a future, maybe not too far off, where these self-learning data assets are constantly adapting to market shifts on their own, where sophisticated Gen AI agents are orchestrating complex data sharing and syndication across different industries, and where entirely new kinds of marketplaces emerge, marketplaces specifically for these intelligent agents to operate. In these dynamic exchanges, AI agents won't just trade data based on volume or size. They'll negotiate price and deliver intelligence based on its value, the actual measurable outcome it drives for the buyer. That kind of shift would completely transform data monetization from a relatively static business into this incredibly dynamic, self-optimizing ecosystem. Now, that is something for you to mull over.